fucking awesome. Come on, it's gonna be fucking awesome. You know the words. It's gonna be fucking awesome. That's it, see. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Yeah!
Hiya, 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 ho, ho, ho. Hello and welcome to another fucking fabulous episode of the Coolest Geek Alive. Welcome, all of my coolest geeks. Care Bear stare to you guys. Love you so much. Can I tell you something? You guys will be like the only people that know, because I'm not like announcing it or like saying anything at all. But my whole life, I've always wanted to be a comedian. I got scared away from it when I was a teenager. Somebody made me feel like I shouldn't do it or I couldn't do it. And I let that person crush my dream. It was what I wanted to do. Really, it's my favorite thing. I studied comedy all my life, and comedians, and I've watched some of the great comedic specials, like Comedy Ain't Pretty from Steve Martin, and so many Bill Cosby bits, and whatever it was that I knew was a big deal and important. Eddie Murphy's Raw, and even people that I didn't necessarily like Andrew Dice Clay, whose comedy I never fucking got, but I would listen to it because I wanted to see what everybody was hearing. Eddie Izzard's one of my favorite comedians. I think Eddie is freaking incredible. And comedy, sketch comedy, and comedy films. I used to wake up in the morning as a child. My dad had turned me on to comedy from a really young age, and I would watch half of a comedy, like a classic comedy, every morning. I would watch half of Blues Brothers, and then I'd watch the other half of it the next day. Half of Blazing Saddles, and the other half the next day. Half of Monty Python and the Holy Grail, the other half the next day. I would watch comedy movies all the time. And I went to an open mic, and I did, it was supposed to be like 15 minutes. I think I only took like 10 of the minutes to test out material that I've been working on for years and years and years. And literally years in my note. I'm 41 now. And since I was a teenager, I had a little note in my phone where I would, like, when I had things that I thought were funny, I would just kind of write them down so that I could make some jokes. And it was a really great experience. I did okay. It was my first time. I think maybe I started out pretty good. The room got a little noisy in the middle of the set because it wasn't like a super crowded room or anything. Very low key kind of thing that I was doing. I wasn't trying to get in front of a huge audience. Just wanted to try out some jokes with some people. But generally, it went over really great. And I was towards the end of the night, and I really kind of made friends with everybody who was in the bar, hanging out for the rest of the night, kind of thing. And I just had a great Monday night, hanging out with all these people very joyfully, lots of smiles. I actually made a best friend, a new best friend. I've been literally praying to God that I really could use a friend in my life more regularly, somebody who I cared about. And he happened to walk in when I was on stage. Just as I got on stage, he walked in and he caught all my comedy, and then I stayed around and I was playing some music. There was an open mic kind of thing, just with some people. I mean, not great music or anything, but Jailhouse Rocks and making up some bullshit and whatnot, but having a nice time. And he and I hit it off like as soon as I got off the stage, and we went to talk, and we've been friends since. Past bunch of days now. We've hung out every day and just getting closer and closer. So shout out to you Lords. Great name too, right? Hugh Lords. I think that's such a cool name. My buddy Hugh Lords. Hugh Lords Watson. What up, Hugh Lords? Love you, man. Anyway, beyond that, like me and Hugh, like our energy of like when we met, like it was really infectious. We're very big, happy, loving kind of guys, and we happened to have the group of people who were there were all really kind of sweet and loving people. And I think just like the whole atmosphere of the night was so great. And I ended up talking about all sorts of different things that I loved with different people. And there was a lady behind the bar covered in tattoos, lots of geeky tattoos, Harry Potter, things like that. And I was like, so are you a fan of the Harry Potter movies? Because she had like the characters from the movies. I said, or do you read the books? Do you like to read? And she said, oh, yeah, I love to read. I've read all the books. And like she started like naming different books that she read. And I said, oh, well, then I have to recommend a book to you. My favorite book of all time. And she says, oh, yeah, what is it? And I said, The Princess Bride. And she said, The Princess Bride? Like the movie? I didn't know that was a book. Oh, yeah. it's a book. And when she said that, I went, oh my God, I got to fucking talk about this on Wednesday. I said, thank you, my dear. You just gave me my episode for this Wednesday. You just gave me my next gushing episode about one of the great artists who has ever lived, William Goldman. This is not just about The Princess Bride. This is about the man, William Goldman. Oh no, I'm going to cry. I'm getting all teary-eyed because I'm so grateful to be talking about this. Damn it. William Goldman is my favorite writer. He's the greatest writer who's ever lived. And I'm going to demonstrate that over and fucking over today because you probably don't even know who William Goldman is because he's the fucking old guard, you know? He was an old man when I became a fan of William Goldman. Most of his novels had already been written. Most of his films had already been written when I became aware of William Goldman. He was an elder statesman and he was still working in Hollywood and still doing some stuff, you know, when I really became aware. Because, I mean, I've been a fan of the Princess Bride film since I was a little kid. And then I think it was my father who somehow got turned on to the book and recommended it to me because we were such big fans of the movie. And he knew I was that's my whole life. If somebody says, what's your favorite movie? Number one with a bullet. You don't have to ask me twice. The Princess Bride. But as soon as I read the book, number one with a bullet, my favorite book is The Princess Bride. And it's infinitely better than the movie. It's just so impossible for a film to live up to a truly great novel, a truly great comic book. They can try. They can do different things. And in different ways, they can be greater than the book and the movie. But in the ways that the book and the comic book, but in the ways that the comic book and the book are uniquely great, a film cannot hope to compete. Often, it's just because of the time constraints. You know, a book can be any range, and you could get yourself like a novella or whatever, which is like 100 pages, or you get yourself like a medium-sized book, you know, something that's like 200 to 400 pages, and you know, and then there are books that are like 600 pages and 700 pages, and like that's like average for some of these writers writing a chapter of whatever it is that you're watching, reading Game of Thrones or something like that. And then there's even longer books, you know, thousands, 1,500 page, books that are, you know, what I'm saying really is the story will be told in the most effective way. So if the most effective way to tell the story is 100 pages, it's going to be 100 pages. If the most effective way to tell the story is 1,500 pages, it's going to be 15. So in comic books and in television and in films, the moment you get away from a novel where you can literally just write as much or as little as you want, you do get into the problem of sort of the package. Right? The package of a comic book is 22 pages. So on average, basically you got to make a 22-page story. Your story has to fill 22 pages for a comic. Granted, there are anthology stories. And in an anthology story of a comic that's 22 pages, you might get 2 11-page stories. You might get multiple 6-page stories. Granted, you can get a little bit different than 22 pages. You know, your comic may be 20 pages, maybe 36 pages or 48 pages, an extra-sized book, a prestige format kind of thing, and sometimes they'll be like 100 pages. Or you get a graphic novel where you can do up to, you know, multiple issues of a comic, you know, in one collected volume, which generally speaking, that's what a graphic novel is. A graphic novel is a collection of multiple individual issues, 22 pages, 22 pages, 22 pages, 22 pages. So, I mean, if you've got unlimited budget or whatever else, theoretically speaking, you could do the same thing that a novel can do in comics, and you can just, as long as or as short as it needs to be. But generally speaking, comic books is the beginning of a certain amount of like structure, industry structure that's opposed on the fact that like, well, people are used to paying this much for a comic book, so we can't make the comic book this many pages because then we have to charge more than everybody else charges. You know, so conforming to the standardized version of what a comic book is means that you have to limit in some fashion. Granted, in comic books, I really think that it's not limiting. It's just sort of, it just is what it is, and you have to play to what it is. I don't think that comic books end up actually being particularly limiting, but there are at least some hoops that you got to jump through in order to make a comic book story work in the sort of way that most comic books traditionally are working in the mainstream. When you get into television, you have to worry about the commercial breaks. You have to write to the commercial breaks. The best TV shows, the commercial break, when it comes, the thing that happens before that commercial break is going to keep you watching. When you have a show like Netflix now, shows on Netflix or it's streaming, you don't have the commercial break situation anymore, unless your show's coming from network television or something. So now, actually, you're writing for the binge. You need the show to crescendo and land at the end in a way that makes you need to watch the next bit. When it comes to films, you need the first 15 minutes of your screenplay to be crack-a-lackin' because nobody's going to read it if it's not. You need it to build from there and follow at least some semblance of the screenplay 3-act structure that people like to think of. And granted, there's a lot of different ways to think about screenplay structure and story structure and whatnot, but at least to some degree, your audience is looking to get hooked in early, get taken on a journey of transformation until we eventually reach a point of seeming hopelessness. But then we figure out what we're going to do and we come back for the end. Nuh-uh, not so fast. I worked hard for this happy ending and I'm going to get it. Some version of this shit is what's going on at all times in every movie. Even if the ending isn't happy, everything that precedes it has to basically point us in the direction of why, on some level, an unhappy ending would be satisfying, would be artistically satisfying, would be soul satisfying, would say something that really needed to be said or said something that mattered, right? Novels just always have an advantage in terms of just being able to do whatever they want, say whatever they want, and as do comic books. And The Princess Bride is no exception in this area. The Princess Bride is, I think, the greatest movie ever made, and I think the novel is the greatest novel ever written. It is funny. It's dramatic. It's action-packed. It's based around love. It teaches you real life lessons. It gives you so much. And it's in such an unassuming package. The Princess Bride. The story goes that William Goldman wrote The Princess Bride for his 2 daughters. He asked them if, he said he wanted to write something for them. And he said, what would you want me to write about? And his one daughter said, a princess. And his other daughter said, a bride. So he wrote The Princess Bride. Now, I'm going to kind of talk about this a little bit like assuming people have seen The Princess Bride, because it is a very classic and famous film at this point. And honestly, if you've never seen The Princess Bride film, I don't want to spoil it for you. But I'll be talking about some things in, referencing different things here. And really, if you haven't seen The Princess Bride film yet, do yourself a favor. Read the book first. And then go reward yourself with the film. Though at the same time, the book is so good, it may be better to watch the movie first and then read the book, because it just pales in comparison. But it's still my favorite movie of all time, hands down, #1 with a bullet. If you're asking me, what are some of your other favorite movies, Jesse, so that we can see what kind of taste you got? Well, #2 with a bullet is usually Tombstone. Kurt Russell, Val Kilmer, Bill Paxton, Sam Elliott, so many other fucking incredible actors. What a brilliantly written Western based in reality. So much to learn from that freaking movie. And again, balanced. That's what I'm looking for in my art. I want balance. That's art. Somebody said today on Twitter, it was the most fucking ridiculous thing I've ever seen. It was like an egregious thing, that all art was fundamentally political. You're out of your fucking mind. All art is not fundamentally political. I mean, it's just like kind of the stupidest thing I've ever heard somebody say before. And it's funny, somebody, when I reposted this guy's tweet, they literally wrote, well, that's the stupidest thing I've heard all day. I wrote to this person, I said, no, it's not. You are suffering from the American political partisan mind virus. There is so much more than 2 points of view, and the best way to govern ourselves is simply whatever way we can agree on. art isn't here to convince people to go left or right. True art teaches us balance. Just think about every science fiction movie you've ever seen, right? Where there's some sort of like reasonably harmonious society that exists. And if you're going to sit there and you're going to like categorize their society, some of them are communist and some of them are there, but it doesn't matter. It matters that they've all agreed. They're like, yeah, okay, that sounds okay to me. Everybody's agreed that, okay, we can function like this. Whatever it is that we can all agree on is the answer. And if you have very different ideas and you have very different ideas, well, then we have to agree on something that allows you to have your very different ideas and allows me to have my very different ideas and allows me to be free and not be tread upon by you and allows you to be free and not be tread upon by me. This is the answer. Balance. This notion that this man is spouting here, this everything is fundamental. He's under the false impression that his art is meant to pull you to the dark side or pull you to the light side as he sees it and away from the dark side as he sees it. No, that's not it. Art's meant to fucking show you something. You want to know how you show somebody something? You present them with one side. You present them with the other side. You don't present them with the other side as a demon and my side is good. You humanize my side, which is good, and you show the parts of your side, which is good, that also is bad, and then you show the side of the bad side, and then you show how some of that side also is good. That is how we learn. That is how we balance ourselves. That's how we balance society. And that is art. Art teaches you to love everyone. It teaches you that we were all fundamentally the same. We're all one. Partisan politics. That is art. Fundamentally, all art is political. I posted the definition of political. I was like, adjective, of relating to or dealing with the structure or affairs of government, politics, or the state. 2, relating to, involving, or characteristic of political parties or politicians. 3, interested or active in politics. So, all art is inherently political? No. No, it's not. It's not at all. And anything made from that place is inherently not art. Art is balance. The greatest lesson that I ever learned about art, and this is about drawing, and or painting, anything, any sort of creation of physical art. But it applies to everything. It applies to art across the board. And it proves what I'm saying to you right now. And you can trust this for all time. Art is balance. I had a wonderful art teacher who had gone to Cooper Union. She was a super sweet hippie lady who did Tai Chi, and she had her hair all the way down to her ass, and she was lovely. She was my art teacher in Half Hollow Hills West. Then I moved toward Melville, and I got a new teacher who was such a fucking asshole. He literally prevented me from progressing as an artist because I hated him so much. I hated the way he went about his class, and he was the only art teacher, the only person who was doing any of the advanced stuff. I was learning about anatomy and color theory and fashion design and doing all this shit because I was going to be an artist. I wanted to be a comic book artist. And he broke me in a very short period of time. I hated that, really hated that he broke me so much. But really, what happened was I had so many good teachers. I had a really good computer art teacher and an advertising art teacher, Miss Trentner and Mr. Holden. They were fucking awesome. And I had an amazing writing teacher, Mrs. Krinsky. Shout out to Mrs. Krinsky. She's one of the greatest fucking teachers who has ever lived on planet Earth. So grateful for Mrs. Krinsky. And, and just really, really wonderful. And I'll talk at length one day about Mrs. Krinsky and just how to become a great artist, which is just doing it. Drawing things, writing things, you just got to do a lot of it. But the really sweet teacher that I had, she was great. And it wasn't even her who gave me the great lesson of art, the greatest lesson of art that I've ever been given. It was a student teacher that she brought in. It was one of her students, and he had gone to college, and he came back, and he came in to teach us some important things about art. And at a certain point, he put up a really big canvas on the wall. And he said, now, if I go onto this canvas and I come over here and in the center of the piece, I get into like this hyper detail. I'm trying to create muscle and trying to get shading and all these different things. And I draw like this perfect eye and this perfect neck. And then over here, I'm drawing like leaves and shit, but like I'm not really great at drawing the leaves, and my leaves are a little bit like sticky, and like the line work is weird, and like I'm shading it weird. I'm not exactly getting it right. And then over here I go and I draw this tree and I draw the lake, but I don't exactly get the details right here. But over here on this rock, I really get the details right, really here. He's like, you are going to have a completely unbalanced piece of art when this thing is all done. Hyper detail on the rock, really well done symmetry on this face, but the leg's all wrong, and the leaves and the tree is all wrong, and the shading and the thing. So you're trying to do hyper-realism, and you're succeeding in certain places, but you're failing in other places. Well, that's not art. That's just you doodling on some page, because it's not balanced. It doesn't have cohesion. He said, however, and he started doing it, if you just draw some stick figures over here, here's a little people, and they're a house, right? He's like, and then you keep it going, and we got an alligator, and he's a little stick figure alligator, and we got a monkey, he's a little stick figure monkey, and stick figure people, and stick figure houses, and stick figure boats, and stick figure cars, and stick figure trees, stick figures, stick figures, stick figures, stick figures, stick figures. And if we go from one corner of this canvas all the way to the other side of this canvas, just giving you stick figures, by the time we are done, we will have created art. And it may be a very rudimentary sort of art, stick figure art, but the consistency from one stick figure to the next, one little house and one little animal and tree and whatever, and this consistent depiction of a world of stick figures, it creates a world. It makes you feel like you've gone someplace. What does? The balance, the consistency. So what are you looking for when you're writing? What truly makes great writing? Consistent stick figures all through the thing. Balance. And in the world, in the real world, when it comes to stories, balance is a recognition of the fact that everything exists in your life. You could be going through the worst freaking time in your life, and in the middle of it, you are prone to more laughter than ever before, because you are on the edge of like crying all the time. And when something funny or challenging arises, it's just tragic and ridiculous, and I can't handle this, and you find yourself fucking laughing. People who write drama and it's just sour grapes all the way, it's just drama, sometimes life isn't funny, they don't have the proper fucking perspective. Oh my God, life is always funny. The more tragic life gets, the fucking funnier it gets. And if you don't see that, it's because you're out of balance. And the people, largely, who make art that isn't quite there, that isn't quite in balance with itself, in balance with reality, their art becomes whatever balance they can show you from them. And that's okay. You know, there are some great dramas, you know, that don't have a lick of fucking comedy in them, and they have merit. Those people are existing in that world. But what is more true? What is more lifelike than that? A little bit of everything. A little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, a little bit of sweet, a little bit of bitter. That's what makes the world go round. And The Princess Bride, Tombstone, my third favorite movie, Braveheart. Braveheart. You remember how fucking funny Braveheart is at points in that movie? There are many wonderful moments of levity in Braveheart. And oh man, are they so welcomed in that movie, because there are so many moments of tragedy and horror and despair in that movie. But the comedy that exists in real life all the time, everywhere you look, if you just have the perspective to see it, it's always there. This is why the Marvel Universe has worked so well. Granted, it's de-evolved into something frivolous and stupid because they stopped having their heroes mean anything. A standard, a line drawn in the sand, I can't do this. You know, there's a character in the comics named Lobo, and Lobo would have just been a ridiculous, over-the-top version of a trope that existed in comics, which was the berserker, raging, murdering hero psychopath. Wolverine and Judge Dredd and the Punisher and so many different characters embodied this. And Lobo was sort of a representation of that thing. But they did something with Lobo that made him have real, true meaning. They gave him a kryptonite, an Achilles heel. And his Achilles heel was he feels that he must always keep his word. His word means something to him. And if he says he's going to do something, he does it. If he agrees to something, he does it. This makes Lobo a real person. This makes him somebody who cares about something on some level. Even if he's selfish and he's murderous and he's a bit of an asshole, he has self-respect. This makes you as an audience member care about him. And all the frivolous shit he's doing, you're with him. Because he's more than frivolous. He has a standard. And it may be this small, minor thing, and it may be something that he'll twist his way out of in one way or another. Yeah, he did agree to that, and he did the thing that he said he was going to do, but he never said that he wouldn't do this after he did the thing that he was going to do. And he's always having to work around this word. He gives his word, and then people are freaking getting him over the barrel because he gave his word, and then he's got to kind of figure his way around how to maneuver and how to handle this shit because, well, I gave my word. Do you see how powerful that is? Do you see how powerful it is? A simple, crazy character who looks like fucking Alice Cooper on steroids, and it's just, basically his answer to everything is kill them. But we make him care about his honor on one level or another. And that's it. You're with that. Everybody can get with that. The lines that we draw in the sand, they make us real. And then when the drama and the trauma and the laughs come from us wrestling with who we fundamentally are as people, and we need those defining characteristics. So-and-so will always this. So-and-so will never this. So-and-so will always react this way to this, or some version of this way. That's called a running joke. All of the great characters on The Muppet Show, every single one of them is essentially a running joke. Fozzie desperately wants to be a comedian. He's not funny. Now, everything comes from that place. He's trying to be funny. He's getting made fun of. He's doing this because he wants to be funny. He's maybe changing a different job. Maybe I'm reconsidering. Comedy's not working for me. I'm so hurt by it. The stories about Fozzie come from the fact that all he wants is to be a comedian and nobody thinks he's funny. And every member of the show has something that they're driven to do, that they're not as great at doing it as they'd like to be. And then the stories and the humor and the tragedy and the comedy. And if you're a fan of The Muppet Show, there is comedy and tragedy. That is basically what the Muppets do. They are the fucking representative of the smiley face and the sad face. Oh, I suck at the thing. Oh my God, that's really funny for the audience. Perspective that their sadness can actually be very humorous from a different perspective than they have. From an outside perspective, oh my God, this is tragically hysterical. From the inside perspective, it's sad. And you can write a drama and you can just make it sad. But truly creative people, when they write drama, it's fucking funny as hell. Brilliant, deep, wonderful. And when William Goldman writes anything, he balances the things. And I will say, I've read many, many novels, and I've seen the majority of his movies. I've read at least a dozen novels from William Goldman, at least. And that's like fictional novels. I've also read some of his nonfiction stuff, but less of his nonfiction. I think I've only read like one or two of his nonfiction books. He's written a lot of books on writing, but a lot of them was like collections of screenplays and stuff. And I never wanted to be a screenplay writer. I was more of a comic book writer, so I didn't necessarily care about like reading a screenplay and getting screenplay notes and stuff, because that was a little bit more what he did. But he also wrote novels. He also wrote plays. He wrote fucking everything. Nonfiction, fiction. I'm saying he is the single greatest writer who has ever lived. I mean that. I'm not like blowing sunshine up this man's ass. This is the man. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you why I think that. Why I think that. Why I know that. It's just the truth. And there's so many. I mean, when I start naming movies written by William Goldman and things, but you're going to be like, what? He wrote that? What? Oh my, what? I had no idea. What? Yeah. Incredible. So first, let's just start with The Princess Bride. And let's start with the novel. I'm gonna talk about the novel as if you have already watched the movie, okay? So, in the beginning of The Princess Bride, of course, the movie opens with a condensed, sort of quick, narrated version of Wesley and Buttercup's courtship and relationship. It's beautiful, it's very simple and fairy tale-like and pure, but it goes by rather quickly, and it's very effective. But in the book, you get a much longer version of this story. And the love story that is told between Wesley and Buttercup is so human. I can't even begin to explain the realities of men and women and love and desire and beauty and pain and so many fucking things are on display so purely, so perfectly in the opening of this book. And it will make everything that happens to Wesley and Buttercup that much more important and impactful and wonderful for you as a reader and wonderful for you as a viewer of the movie the next time you go to watch it. So that's thing number one from the book that you're going to want to read and you're going to like even better than you liked in the movie. Now, thing number two. Eventually, our princess gets kidnapped by the what's their fucking name? The gang. No, the Sicilian crowd. That's what they're called in the book, the Sicilian crowd, because three's a crowd. That was the joke. Even back then, three was a crowd. So three is the Sicilian crowd. And the Sicilian crowd is Fezzik the giant and Indigo the swordsman and Vincini the Sicilian, which is played by what's his fucking name? I always forget that dude's name. The guy who plays Rex in Toy Story. He's so great as Vizzini in the movie, but in the book, he's described a little bit more as like sort of a dark-skinned gypsy man, or like what you might imagine as like a gypsy, mystical kind of traveler kind of person. And in the movie, there is a person who I will say the man in black, as they're known, who comes to the rescue of the princess, and this man has to go through a gauntlet to save the princess. First, climbing the cliff of insanity to get up to battle a swordsman who's an incredible swordsman, and then to fight the giant. But in the book, right before the man in black faces Indigo Montoya, you go back in time and you find out the history of Indigo Montoya. The story of Indigo Montoya alone is the reason you need to read this book. It is the most beautiful, tragic, love-filled, hysterical, sweet, torturously painful backstory you will ever read about anyone. It moves me every time I read it. I have read this book out loud to every girl I have ever loved. It is the greatest book ever written, and part of the reason why it is because of the story of Inigo Montoya and his father that he loved, his father who died, his father who was an incredible sword maker, his father who he respected so much and loved so much that he couldn't stand to be without him. And basically, this man, Inigo Montoya, this boy, dedicates his life to the study of fencing, as is said in the movie, so that he can avenge his father's death. And for those people who have seen the movie, dude, you know, it's like one of the most powerful moments in cinema. Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. If you see that scene ever again, having read the chapter called Indigo in the Princess Bride novel, it will kick you in the stomach and make your heart sing 1,000,000,000 times more. 1,000,000,000. What can be found in the Indigo chapter makes everything in the movie that much richer, because the adaptation of this movie is so fucking accurate, except for the ways in which it scales things back or removes things that were in the book, because it's a movie and we only have so much time. The chapter on Indigo. Thank you, William Goldman. Thank you, God. Thank you for showing me what real great writing is. How to make you give a shit about a fucking story. It is so good. I cannot wait to talk just about the brilliance of this man on so many damn levels. You know, he adapted himself here. This is his novel and his book, but he has adapted many other authors, and he is so good at it because he's an author. He knows what it's like to have somebody come in and adapt your work and make it suck. He cares enough about writing and good writers, that he would come in to adapt something into a screenplay, and he would do it with love. And he did it with such love that so many writers, like Stephen King in particular, remained friends with him and wanted him to be the person to adapt their work time and time again, because he really cares about the author's intent. He really cares about delivering to the screen what everybody loves so much about the thing in the book form, or in the comic form, whatever it is. He didn't adapt any comic books, but he would have been great at that because he came from the right place of love and respect in all of his adaptations. William Goldman, you are the man. Thank you for teaching me to be a better writer. Thank you for having lived so that I could study all of your fucking work and learn from you. I think I have learned the most from you, from The Princess Bride, and from these other films and books that you've written. So continuing on specifically on The Princess Bride, and we won't talk too much longer about it. I just want to get you a few more of the pieces that, if you've seen the movie, but you're like, oh, I don't know if I need to read the book. Guys, please don't sleep on this. You need to read this book. Right before the man in black faces Fezzik, you get what perhaps is my second favorite bit of writing ever. Well, maybe my second favorite is the love at the beginning of the book. So maybe this is my third. But Fezzik. You get Fezzik's backstory. You find out that Fezzik was this little kid who had gigantism, and he was the size of an adult since he was like 8 or 9 years old. And his family are poor, and they basically they start bringing him around, having him fight all the local tough guys. And he's beating everybody. He doesn't even mean to. He doesn't even want to. He's crying. But worse, everybody hates him because he's too good at it. He's just naturally big. It's not hard for him. I don't even exercise, he says in the movie. People hate him because he's naturally gifted with the ability to be the strongest and the toughest. He says, I can't help being the strongest and the biggest. I don't even exercise. And that is the story of a little boy who becomes the greatest gladiator who's ever lived because that's just kind of what he is, or who he is naturally, physically, even though mentally and emotionally he doesn't want to fight. He's a nice guy. He likes to do rhymes. Anybody want a peanut? Andre the Giant played this part so insane. There's a 25th anniversary edition of the book that I would recommend that includes additional chapter. Well, I guess it's like 2 additional chapters, kind of. It's like an introduction and a first chapter to what's called Buttercup's Baby. And Buttercup's Baby is a love letter that frickin' William Goldman wrote after Andre the Giant died. The people on the set of The Princess Bride and Andre himself were very affected by the entire filming experience. Everybody has stories about Andre. And Andre basically says that he was the happiest during that time working on that movie. He'd never been so happy. Nobody looked at him like he was strange or like he didn't belong there. He felt like he belonged. And it was a real great group of people. And, make me want to cry. The bonus chapter, like I said, it's a tribute to Andre's death, and it's called Fezzik Dies. And I cry plenty, as you can see, when I am affected by things that I believe are truly important and truly lovely and wonderful. I like goodness. I like joy. And I like crying for those reasons. And I have rarely cried as much as I cry when I read the Fezzik Dies chapter. And I've gone back to read it multiple times because it moved me so much. And it's from the book, the lost book, Buttercup's Baby. And Fezzik dies saving Buttercup's baby. And their relationship depicted in this bonus chapter of this baby and Shadow, as she calls him. Fezzik is Shadow to the baby. And it's, sorry, I'm remembering it. I don't want to spoil it. It's so fucking moving, man. It's like really like, fuck me up. Okay. So Fezzik's chapter is amazing. Continuing on into the book, there's one more aspect that is super great. For the most part, a lot of the rest of the book is not to say verbatim. There's definitely a little bit of extra stuff here, a little bit of extra stuff there, and it's fucking perfect. It's my favorite book. But the one additional thing, like I'm saying, there's the love story, much longer, much more going on there. Fezzik's introduction, Indigo's introduction, they get a whole flashback where you learn who they are. And you learn who they are, and then you see what the man in black does to them. And it makes it so much more effective, actually really knowing who they are. Because holy shit, do both of them earn it. Both of them have such great stories. You don't want either of them to lose to the man in black. You're like, these guys are the greatest guys ever. I love Indigo. He loves his father. He wants to save his father. This poor bastard. You, Fezzik, same thing. You're like, oh my God, I love this kid. He doesn't want to fight. He's the greatest person in the world. He just is giant, and like, this is what he does. He just fell into this somehow. It's so effective. But the last bit that you get, that's like a lot of extra material, is the Zoo of Death. The Zoo of Death is a multi-leveled underground base where Prince Humperdinck hunts. He brings in exotic animals. He pays to have people bring in exotic animals from all over the world, and he hunts them in the Zoo of Death. And in order to save Wesley from the pit of despair, which is at the very bottom of the Zoo of Death, they have to go through the false entrance to the Zoo of Death, which goes down every level one at a time and is quite deadly. And these two men have to get through the Zoo of Death in order to get to Wesley to save him, like they do in the movie. So the Zoo of Death chapters are great. If you like animals, predatory animals, all this stuff, it's very cool, very mysterious, and it's more time with your favorite characters, Indigo and Fezzik. And I mean, Indigo and Fezzik are my favorite characters of all time. I hope that I am the man in black, but I hope that I am surrounded by Fezziks and Indigos for the rest of my life. Those are the people that I want to be with, the ones who are going around rhyming, the ones who are loyal to their father, loyal to their friends. And I hope I'm a man who's loyal to my loves and willing to stand up for what I believe in. I think I am that man. The Princess Bride is a masterclass in great writing. Beyond that, the narrative device that is put in place for this book is so clever, interesting, and rather complex for most people's understanding that it really shows you what level of writer he was, because he was writing this for his kids, and to some degree, I'm sure he was feeling it like he was feeling like he was like slumming it. You know, I'm gonna go write this little like children's fantasy for my daughters. So he did something rather interesting, which gets translated into the Peter Falk grandfather in the movie coming to read to the sick Fred Savage. So what he does is, this book isn't written by William Goldman. He claims that it was written by S. Morgenstern, and that it's this classic tale from the old country that he grew up reading. His father used to read it to him. And then one day, he tells his son to buy the book and read the book because it's so great. And his son doesn't like it. His son never gets back to him, never says anything good about it. When he finally gets a hold of the book, and meanwhile, none of this is true. When he finally gets a hold of the book, he realizes that his father had been abridging it when he was reading it. If you don't know what abridging means, he went, this is a boring part, so I'm just going to skip over it. This is a chapter that's useless, so I'm just going to skip over it. And apparently S. Morgenstern, the writer of the book, he was a great like teller of this love story and these things, but he was also like a historian, and a lot of the book was all this boring shit about like the history of Florin, which is an imaginary place, and the history of Gilder, which is an imaginary place, that they put into Europe, so it's surrounded by real places, and everything is like pretend like this place exists. Everything is pretend like this book exists. That gives the book so much, I mean, knowing that it's just all a joke makes it that much more fun. But without that too, it just gives so much character to the whole thing. And basically, the whole book is written from this place of William Goldman grew up having this book read to him by his father, but his father was cutting out all the bad parts. So now he's gotten the rights to the book so that he can abridge it similar to the way that his father had abridged it for him, so that everybody can enjoy the classic Princess Bride the way it was told to him by his father, and not the boring way that you might have to read it if you got the original unabridged version of The Princess Bride. Is that not clever? Is that not fun? Granted, when I read this to my girlfriends, you know, when I read it to my ex-wife Patty, when I read it to my love Julie, I cut out all those parts, and I just read the fantasy novel. And it's written in such a way where all of that stuff is in italics, so you can skip over that. But I did read that with all the in-between stuff the first time. And it is super fun, and it is super charming, and William Goldman is great. He's got a great voice, similar to like a David Barry. I love Dave Barry. If you've ever read any of Dave Barry's books, a great book by Dave Barry that is probably my second favorite book of all time. And I say that having only read it the one time, but I love that book. It's called Big Trouble. They made a movie of it, which was not as good as the book. The book is fucking phenomenal, and they really kind of fucked up the film. But the movie, I mean, the novel's amazing. Big Trouble. And Dave Barry, he's a humorist. And humorists, are people who write prose that are charming, that make you smile, that make you laugh. And William Goldman, he approaches so much of his writing in this way. Not always. Some of his things that he's done, and we're going to get to a whole bunch of them because he's written all across the board. I mean, he writes all sorts of stuff. He writes horror, he writes suspense, he writes thrillers, he writes comedies, he writes historical shit, and plenty of adaptations. And the adapting that he has done is kind of the most impressive thing because it demonstrates how egoless he is and the honor that he's doing to so many of these writers with what he's done. So these in-between pieces, I recommend you read the whole book at least once. Even at the end, the added chapter, he's got all this bullshit about how Stephen King wanted to do the abridgment of the second version of The Princess Bride. The Princess Bride sequel is called Buttercup's Baby. It doesn't exist. He made this up. He made this up just to add a chapter to the book so he could do a dedication to Andre. So he makes up this whole story about how there's this extra book, and him and Stephen King are legitimately fighting about it, and there's all these legal things, and the Morgenstern family estate, they like Stephen King better than him because Stephen King's a bigger name than he is. William Goldman is a small name compared to Stephen King. And Stephen King's obviously a fucking fan and friend of his because he's been adapting Stephen King films for a long time, starting with Misery. If you're a fan of Misery, you have William Goldman to thank for that novel being adapted in that way. That movie, that book, people thought that it was impossible. You could never adapt Misery. William Goldman did. With love, he adapted the unadaptable. There's been so many fucking times throughout history in Hollywood where they try to claim something is unadaptable. It's bullshit. It's not unadaptable. Just need to have the will to do it. And usually a will to do something comes from a love to do something, And that's what I do. If I'm doing an adaptation or I'm making some adjustment, I got to find the love. Why do people love this? I did a Voltron interview. I was doing the panel at a convention, and it was a really big panel for them. They were announcing a lot of big things, and I had never watched Voltron. I didn't grow up on Voltron. So I watched enough Voltron and read and looked into enough Voltron until I felt that I understood pretty good why people loved it. Like what was really appealing about it. And I mean, I think it all really comes down to forming like Voltron, being a part of a whole, being better than the sum of its parts. Cool robot tigers, it's great science fiction, great sort of battles and evil bad guys. And, I was able to see pretty quickly where the charm was coming from. And if I was going to get hired to write a live action Voltron adaptation, that's what you need to know to then go, okay, this is where the love is. And then you try to replicate that love for a new audience. Because it is often a different audience, but the audience who reads, we also watch movies. We also watch TV shows. We also occasionally think it's nice to not have to read our entertainment, that it is a little bit more efforting to read it. But the people who don't read novels tend to only watch TV, only watch movies. There's definitely an audience there. So mistakenly, Hollywood always thinks that they have to adjust everything to this audience who doesn't read books. But the reality is the audience that doesn't read books, they're not any different than us. They just have different priorities and they're lazier. We're just the people who are willing to put in the time to read something. If we like it, we're human too. If we like it, you'll like it. If a human likes it, odds are other humans will also like it. That's just how it works. So it's a completely mistaken impression that these things have to be adapted in some crazy way. They just have to be adapted from a place of love, like William Goldman always does. And we'll get into his long list of credits and stuff like that in just a second as I wrap up just talking about The Princess Bride. The Princess Bride is just incredible. It's the single greatest novel that I have ever read, and I've read plenty. And it is the single greatest movie I've ever seen. and I've watched fucking a lot of freaking movies. Oh my God. I mean, I guess I've read kind of similar books, but not fiction. Definitely my fiction reading is more on the comic book side of things. My non-fiction reading is way more on the novel side of things. Plenty of freaking reading things that are non-fiction. But as far as fiction goes, my pool is deeper. I mean, it's shallow. Compared to some people who are big novel readers. And I have so many friends who are really big novel readers, whether it's like fantasy or sci-fi, and they will recommend incredible things to me sometimes. And I'm always like kind of so like, oh man, like I want to crack open your brain and find out like more things. Like what else would you recommend? Because like of all the novels, like if you got more novels this good to recommend to me, fuck, I will read them. And it is a little bit of laziness on my part. Like I love the visual components of comic books and the art and whatnot, and a book is a little harder to get through, especially when people aren't writing like they're humorists. Like I really need my authors to be like Gene Shepard and Dave Barry and William Goldman and bring some charm and some humor into every sentence they write. If I do not feel like I'm actively being charmed by a book, I get bored. Thank God J.R.R. Tolkien has always had a nice, quiet bit of charm about his work. And I mean, that's one of the reasons why it stood the test of time, and people have been able to keep passing it on to other people, and pretty much any audience goes, oh, well, this is lovely. I had such fun. I had such a smile on my face reading about these hobbits and reading about this place. And even though it was scary and dramatic, whatever, I was very engaged in the lighter parts and the loving parts of these books. Like, it's so important. So unfortunately, a lot of novelists don't really have that. And people who are capable of reading drier material, often they can find their way to things that are really interesting. And there's often really good books that will get adapted from their source material. And the source material is a lot drier and a bit harder to get through. But the tenets of the book that they made were great and deserve to be adapted. But the thing that makes The Princess Bride so good is it is the most balanced piece of art that I have ever experienced. As a novel, as a film, there is horror, there are thrills, there is action, there is comedy, there is heart, there is true love. I mean, every freaking promotion for every comic that I've ever read, it literally starts with me taking the quote from Peter Falk at the beginning of The Princess Bride, where he's like, are you kidding? Fencing, fighting, true love, just giving all these little pieces of all these wonderful things. I literally will start with that, and then I start changing out the adjectives to make them my adjectives for the book that I'm working on. This book's going to have this, and it has this, and it has this, and it has this, and it has this. That's what you fucking want from a truly great piece of work. A little bit of everything. Make me feel stuff. Make me feel balanced. Give me that lust for life. Don't make me hate life because it's all down. Don't make me think, well, life isn't so fucking perfect all the time because it's so light and up. Life is up and down, back and forth, comedy and tragedy. You want to be a brilliant writer? Never forget that. Never forget life is comedy and tragedy in combination. And it is purely the perspective that we are holding on the events at hand that dictate whether or not something is funny or something is tragic. And of course, that is why sometimes we do have such different and varying opinions on any given piece of art or whatever it might be. Because if something that's like completely ridiculous that happened in the recent Star Wars movies, that like fans of Star Wars that really care about canon and really care about what came before, happens to be very visceral in the way that it speaks to you, you're going to be focused on the visceral feeling that you had when you experience that moment because of how tied you are to the meaning of it. This will blind you from the larger picture of the thing, and you might be defending yourself to the ends of the earth for one little thing. But granted, it's not about you as an individual. It's about the group experience. So we have to be able to judge these things as a whole. And like so often, like I kind of liked Eternals as a good example, the Marvel movie Eternals. Granted, I fundamentally don't like it in very major ways. I hated it the moment it was announced, the way they were doing it, how they were departing from Jack Kirby's artwork, how it was not an honorable adaptation of what he was doing really at all. But after having lowered my standards in all these different ways and going in to watch the movie just for whatever it is, this is the movie. I like it. I like that movie a lot, actually. Like, I find it kind of interesting. And I thought it was relatively well done. I understand why people don't like it. And honestly, I don't like it for a lot of the same reasons. Like, a part of me is just like, this sucks, man. This could have been so much. This could have been everything that I like about this movie. And it could have also been visually better and more honorable to the source material and all these other things. But sometimes we can identify with something and at the same time recognize what the experience is of the whole group, what the perspective that the whole group has. And in those cases, you have to sort of bow to the group as like, well, I recognize that in general you guys are all feeling this way, even though I feel counter to that. And I'm not going to mock you and say that you guys are wrong because I feel very strongly this way, because I can have enough perspective on myself to see that my own opinion in the matter is compromised by the fact that I really have strong feelings about this or that or whatever it might be. So, looking at that, understanding that, I think it's very important, as a writer, having a real practical idea about what it is you're doing and trying to always give a wide, balanced version of the universe, which the majority of people will understand and connect with. And the majority of people and their perspective is the audience. And we're trying to please them. We're trying to get them to spend their hard-earned money to buy a ticket to a film, to buy a novel, to buy a comic book, to give up their time. Their time is fucking priceless. You know how long it takes to read a novel sometimes? Somebody gave you their time. Dude, I value people's time. As a writer, I don't write anything. I don't fucking hand in any script unless I strongly believe that to read my script would be worth your time. I have never made anything on planet Earth, and I have made a lot. I've had at least 40 to 50 comic books published at this point in time, and not to mention like additional scripts that just didn't get published for whatever reason, or things that did get drawn or whatever but never got actually released. Thousands of songs. And worked as a producer, as an unspoken producer and as a producer, making sure that the narrative of music videos and the narrative of short films was honored and that it was able to get out and that everything was right. Because I value people's time. And I don't want anybody to feel like they wasted their time reading something I wrote, listening to a song I wrote, watching a film that I worked on, or a video, or whatever it might be. And William Goldman, man, he values your time. It's crazy. I'm already an hour into this thing, and it's just The Princess Bride. Like, I feel like maybe I'm going to come back next week, and I'm going to do a second episode about William Goldman and like everything else he's ever written, because I haven't even gotten into that stuff yet, and it's so good. There's so much great shit to talk about, and really, like, this is The Princess Bride, and this is me gushing about The Princess Bride, and I would love to just focus you on the fucking Princess Bride. So, you know what? That's what I'm doing. I'm ending this shit right now. I love you guys so much, but this will be the Princess Bride episode, and I'm going to come back around next week, and I'm going to talk about Misery, and I'm going to talk about All the President's Men, and I'm going to talk about all of his great novels and the great works that he has done. There's so many adaptations. There's so many people that he's worked with. There's so many quotes. I have pages up here. I haven't read from any of the pages. I've got his IMDb page up here so that I can just go through the list of the different things. I've got his Wikipedia page because there's a couple different things on that I wanted to share. I've got lists of his quotes, just different quotes from him that I think are freaking fabulous. Things that he's said in various books and things. There's something about a great story about Good Will Hunting and people trying to give credit credit to Ben Affleck and Matt Damon's screenplay to him because he had met with them at a certain point in time. I won't share it right now because I'm going to share it next week. But I literally have like 6 open web pages of different bits of information that I was like, oh, yeah, I want to talk about that. Oh, yeah, I want to talk about that. Oh, yeah. I haven't talked about any of it. If I tried to do it right now, we would be here for another hour. So you know what? This is it. If you guys are big music fans like me, you got to join me every Monday night. I do a podcast called All Your Favorite Bands Suck, where I just blow sunshine up the asses of a favorite band of mine in a genre that I believe is being disrespected. Punk rock, heavy metal, hard rock, ska, rap, comedy music. Whatever it might be. This past week's episode is all about Tenacious D. I love great comedy music. The previous episode for the previous week is all about my father and Twisted Sister, who I believe is fucking detracted from, and like, you know, people look down at them all the time. It's fucking bullshit. My father's one of the greatest songwriters who has ever lived, and just there's so much great material from him that most people just don't know. And I want to help you find it. I want you to find all the great Tenacious D songs. I want you to find all the great shit by 311 and Rage Against the Machine and The Offspring and Nickelback and The Lonely Island and Weird Al Yankovic. There's so many bands that are on the list of All Your Favorite Bands Suck. Take a look through the list. See all the people that I've covered. And if there's anybody on that list that you're like, oh yeah, I always wanted to get into that band, do it. Do it. Listen to the episode. I give you all the perfect albums to start with, the perfect singles to start with, where to start, how to get into them. And it's not like minutia and bullshit about the bands. I don't give a shit about any of that. I literally, my whole show is just me going, all right, start with this album. This song's great. That song's great. This song's great. That song's great. That's it. That's my show. And my show is so positive, even though it's called All Your Favorite Bands Suck, that it inspired me to make this show that much more positive. If you've been listening, you probably heard me say that again, because I got so tired of like talking about music, gushing about bands, and then on Wednesday I would start to talk about comics and movies and shit, and I'd be like, they suck, they're doing everything wrong, I fucking hate it. And I'm like, you know what? Not everybody's doing everything wrong. There's plenty of wonderful things in this world, and you know what? I have been studying my whole life. My brother gave me credit for having basically created so much of his taste, because every great movie that he's ever seen, he pulled from my DVD library. Every great comic book, every great book he'd ever read, I gave to him. I put it in his hands. And I'm not trying to blow my own horn here, but I guess I am. I guess I'm saying that my brother thinks that I have good taste. And he's got good taste. So if he thinks I've got good taste and he's got good taste, I'm going to trust that maybe I do. And I hope that I can pass some of that taste on to you, whether it's in music or in geek culture stuff, and help you to realize some of the wonderful, beautiful creators who are out there, like William Goldman, who lived their whole life dedicated to making great shit. And now so much time has passed that people have forgotten. People have forgotten who fucking William Goldman is. I need to remind you who William Goldman is. He's incredible. The greatest writer who has ever lived. Join me. I don't know if it'll be Saturday or next Wednesday. I think it'll be Saturday because I want to do just like another short. I'd like to do the Saturday episodes. I like when they're shorter. And I like focusing on things that are more recent. On Wednesdays, I will talk about like classics at length, like we talked about Jim Henson and we talked about Star Trek and Gene Roddenberry. Now we're talking about William Goldman, and William Goldman deserves 2 fucking episodes. So join me again next Wednesday and this Saturday, where I think I'm going to be talking about Psycho Goreman. Great fucking horror comedy movie from the past few years. Oh my God, one of my favorite things I've watched in a long time. I've only seen it once. I'm actually going to watch it again probably tomorrow or tonight so that I can remind myself of how great it was and talk about it this Saturday. But next Wednesday, join me again for another episode of the Coolest Geek Alive about William Goldman and how he is the single greatest writer, greatest adapter who has ever lived. I love you all. Thank you for joining me. Join me again. Peace. You've been listening to Coolest Geek Alive with me, your host, Jesse Blaze Snider. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe for more excellent geek culture content. Thanks for listening.
It's my favorite part! Isn't that heavy? I'll play that! It's gonna be fucking awesome! Coolest alive! It's gonna be fucking awesome! Stay with your tribe! It's gonna be fucking awesome! fucking awesome. Week after weeks, it's gonna be fucking awesome. Laughing with you, it's gonna be fucking awesome. And crying sometimes too. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Spelling it out, it's gonna be fucking awesome. Making you shout. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Talking some shit. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Living your shit. My voice gonna be fucking awesome. Food in our mouth. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Get in the mouth. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Tell all your friends. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Call right or text. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Raising the bar. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Straight to the stars. It's gonna be fucking awesome. It's starting soon. Straight to the top. Awesome. Passing the moon. It's gonna be fucking awesome. On with the show. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Ready, set, go.
It's going to be fucking awesome. Fucking awesome. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Just wait. You'll see. You'll all see.
The podcast playground.